You know that sinking feeling when something just isn't right. But no one believes you? That was me, every single week. My mail kept disappearing, bills, checks, even letters from my mom, and I couldn't prove anything. I started to think maybe I was just forgetful. Maybe I really was the problem. But deep down, I knew. Someone was messing with me, someone close. And when the truth finally came out, it wasn't just petty theft, it was federal. And the moment 2 FBI agents stepped onto her perfectly polished driveway, her whole world shattered, right in front of the entire neighborhood. Where are you watching from right now? Because this one, it's going to blow your mind. Let me take you back a few months. I had just moved into this quiet little neighborhood, a peaceful cul-de-sac tucked behind a row of tall maple trees, where lawns were perfectly trimmed, driveways were spotless, and every mailbox stood in an exact line like they were part of some suburban military unit. It felt safe, calm, too calm maybe. I was 24, working from home as a graphic designer, and I thought I had finally found a place where I could just breathe, work, and mind my business. But in neighborhoods like this, there's always someone who doesn't like it when you just mind your business. Enter Karen, mid-50s, always dressed like she was ready for a PTA board meeting. She was the self-appointed queen of the HOA, though technically she was just the president. But she treated the title like a badge of honor, walking around with a clipboard, scolding people about recycling bins and lawn height like it was her full-time job. Everyone knew her. Some feared her, most avoided her. And unfortunately, I lived right across the street from her. At first, it was small stuff. She'd give me that tight-lipped smile whenever I waved. She once left a note about my garbage cans being visible from the street for longer than 30 minutes. Weird, but whatever. But then, something more serious started happening. I stopped getting mail. Not all of it, just some. A few bills, a birthday card from my sister, a small package from an Etsy seller. I brushed it off the first couple times. But then my rent check went missing. That was the first time I felt that gut-level unease. I reached out to the post office. They shrugged, said it had been delivered. I asked my landlord if they received anything late. Nothing. I even asked a couple neighbors if they'd seen anything strange. They just looked uncomfortable, like they didn't want to get involved. And when I finally brought it up to Karen during one of those HOA meetings, more like lectures, honestly, she laughed it off and suggested maybe I needed to keep better track of my mail. She said it in front of everyone. They all laughed. That moment stuck with me. I walked home feeling stupid, embarrassed, but also angry, because something was definitely going on, and I was going to find out who was behind it. I decided I wasn't going to let it slide anymore. I may have been the youngest homeowner on the block, but I wasn't clueless. I knew when I was being gaslit, and I knew something wasn't right. So I did what anyone would do when they feel like their reality is being messed with. I got a camera. Nothing fancy, just a small motion-activated security cam. I positioned it quietly inside the window, facing my mailbox. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even mention it to my landlord. I just waited. And sure enough, only a few days later, I caught her. Karen, middle of the day, sunglasses on, walking her dog like she always did. Except this time, she paused by my mailbox, looked around, reached in, took something out, and kept walking. Like it was hers, I watched the footage 3 times, just to make sure I wasn't misinterpreting what I saw. But no, it was clear. She was stealing my mail. The next day, she did it again. Different outfit, same routine, took more. That tight, polite smile she always gave me across the street, now it made my skin crawl. I didn't sleep much that week. I kept checking the footage. I started wondering, how long had she been doing this? Why? Was it just me? Or were there others? Was it some twisted power move? Or was there something darker going on? Still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. I knew if I tried, she'd turn it back on me. She'd probably call me a liar, spin it around like I was harassing her. So instead, I compiled everything, every clip, every date, every single time she went near my mailbox. I reached out to the local police. They told me mail theft was a federal offense and directed me to the United States Postal Inspection Service. And let me tell you, when you start sending federal authorities video evidence, things move a lot faster. One afternoon, I got a knock on the door. Certified mail, a letter from her lawyer. She was demanding, not requesting, demanding that I remove my fence within 30 days or face legal action. Claimed it was trespassing, said she'd take me to court if I didn't comply. I stood there holding that letter, reading it over and over, and something just clicked inside me. You want the fence moved, Karen? Okay, you got it. But I don't think you're going to like where I put it next. Now this is the part you came for. See, instead of arguing, instead of going back and forth in some courtroom drama, I decided to let Karen have exactly what she wanted, but on my terms. I called up a crew of local farmhands, guys who've built barns in snowstorms and laid fencing in 100-degree heat. Good, honest folks who don't blink when you tell them, we're moving a fence. Tomorrow morning, bring coffee. And so, right at 7 a.m. on a crisp Saturday morning, their truck pulled up. Karen's sprinklers were still running, birds were chirping, her wind chimes were singing some soft little melody. And then came the sound of hammers, drills, and heavy boots on gravel. The crew started carefully pulling up my fence, panel by panel, post by post, just like I asked. But instead of shifting it back toward my house, we carried it forward, 7 feet forward, onto the part of the land that actually belonged to me, but had been swallowed up by Karen's decorative lawn. I'm talking about her flower beds, her little Zen rock garden, her custom stone path with the solar lights. All of it? Now officially inside my new fence line, and right around the time we started driving the posts into her grass, the front door burst open like a scene out of a soap opera. There she was, Karen, wearing expensive yoga pants, a neon pink sports bra, and a face that looked like it was about to explode. She stomped onto her porch, yelling, waving her phone in the air, threatening to call the sheriff. And, of course, her lawyer. Again, but here's the twist. I already had the sheriff there. I'd called him 2 days earlier, showed him the documents, the land survey, and told him exactly what I planned to do. And now? He was standing at the edge of my driveway, arms folded across his chest, watching the whole thing unfold like he'd brought popcorn. Karen marched over, shouting about trespassing, lawsuits, vandalism, the whole drama. But the sheriff didn't flinch. He calmly told her that everything was perfectly legal, that the land was mine, that I was well within my rights to reclaim it. And yes, that included putting up a fence wherever my property line ended. She turned pale, then red, then something in between, and I looked her right in the eye and said, "Well, you wanted me to move it." The moment that final post went into the ground, there was silence. Not peaceful silence, stunned silence. Karen just stood there, fists clenched, lips twitching, staring through the brand-new fence that now cut through what she used to call her backyard oasis. Her flower beds? Gone. The little Buddha statue with the candles around it? Inside my property now, that fancy cobblestone path she loved to show off during her wine nights? Mine, all of it, behind my fence. She tried to argue again, but the sheriff had had enough. He told her, flat out, that if she kept harassing me, she could be the one facing a lawsuit. Her voice cracked a little after that. You could tell she was realizing just how badly this had backfired. Her husband came out at one point, still in his slippers, holding a half-eaten piece of toast, and just blinked at the situation. I'm pretty sure he'd been kept out of the loop the whole time. He looked at the fence, then at me, then at Karen, and just quietly turned around and went back inside. Smart man. The crew finished up in just a few hours. Solid work, clean edges, everything measured to the inch. When they were done, I offered them lemonade and a little extra cash. They just smiled and said it was the most entertaining job they'd done all year. Karen, meanwhile, started pacing around with her phone again, calling the HOA, her lawyer, probably her hairdresser. But this time, there was no getting around the truth. The land was mine. The fence was legal. And her power move? Yeah, it just gave me more yard than I had before. In the weeks that followed, Karen went quiet. Not the usual passive-aggressive quiet either. I mean, really quiet. No more notes, no more HOA letters, not even a sideways glance at the mailbox. It was like the fence had built more than just a boundary. It created peace. Eventually, I got a certified letter in the mail. Not a threat this time. An apology. Well, her version of one. It was stiff, overly formal, probably written by her lawyer, but it said she regrets any misunderstanding and intends to respect the current boundary arrangements. I framed it. It's hanging in my tool shed. Funny thing is, I never wanted a fight. I didn't ask for drama. All I ever wanted was to enjoy my land, rebuild my dad's home, and be left alone. But when someone pushes you over and over, sometimes you've got to push back, not with shouting or fists, but with facts, patience, and just the right amount of pettiness. And let me tell you something. Justice doesn't always come with flashing lights or courtroom speeches. Sometimes justice looks like a wooden fence, driven clean through a flower bed. If you enjoyed that story, don't forget to hit like and tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were in my shoes? And hey, wherever you're watching from, I hope your neighbors are a whole lot nicer than mine used to be.